welcome to all. We are quite impressed by the number of people, and I think if Natalia is ready, I will give her the floor to give you some welcome words. The floor is yours, Natalia.
Thank you, George, and thank you everybody for joining us in this Friday, Black Friday indeed. But it's good that you take the time to be with us today, even if it's a Friday afternoon. Well, I think that I don't need to convince anybody that is with us today of the importance of the digital public administrations. This has even been more confirmed with the current crisis. But what we have also seen with the crisis is that the digital public administration is not only about technology or about having the services available online, but is also the skills that everybody in the public administrations need to have. These skills are needed, and before it was limited to a small group of people, software or technical people. Now we have seen how it is important to have the minimum digital skills by everybody. And indeed, this is why we launched the Interoperability Academy to support the public sector to embed these digital skills in all the public servants, including the importance of interoperability, which is key in all the layers. So it's not only about technical, but as you all know, organizational or legal. What is also important is that we have seen and that this is not a very anecdotic need only by some few public administration. It is very general, and this is confirmed by the fact that there are more and more digital academies for the public sector everywhere at all levels of organization. And this is why we are here today to discuss with all of you, but also to share with you some very good examples so that we can learn one of each other. So as George indicated, and is the title of today, is the knowledge sharing. And this is a key element that we want to promote in the context of the Interoperability Academy. So what we want here is to really find the ways to collaborate, to find synergies, and to share the experiences and the knowledge that we have. And as I see, we are a big number, so we have a lot of knowledge there that can be shared. So this is interactive. We are here to listen to you. We will see as you will have all the details of who will be intervening in the coming moments. But I think that this is the spirit that we want to have for this webinar. So thank you very much for being with us, and I hope this will be a very fruitful discussion webinar. Thank you very much. Now I think floor is for Victoria.
Thank you, Natalia, for making this intro. Indeed, will be very interesting, and also seeing that so many participants and from different countries and type of organizations, really interesting. I will not take much of your time. I want to go quickly to what we have here and be more practical. So this is the agenda, more or less you have received it, but we'll go first to what is interoperability, first of all, ISA², a bit of our academy, and then the presenters of today, they will present their work and we will say more about them. We have like from regional level Greece, for national level Poland and Luxembourg, the initiative for digital skills, and of course the United Nations for international level, and present the difference also from local and regional that we also tend to have. Of course, first we will present EIF course and some questions and answers and some closing remarks. At all time, you can always comment in the chat, okay, this is obvious. And then, of course, we just continue to quickly show you what is the our team, more or less. You met Natalia, more or less you know her already, and our director, Emanuele Bartacci. This is the team. And what is important is you see the Interoperability Academy community, because interoperability is for all, and we consider that we are together with you in this, not only us. So this is all the team together. I will go to each of us, but this is the team. But important is you as well. And then the people that will be here today, and we would like to thank them for being here, and also their time for spending with us, because this is really important to present what they are doing and spread the knowledge and not work in silos. So we have from Hellenic Republic and Minister of Interior, the region of, we have the Secretary General of Interior, Mr. Michalis Stavroudakis. From the region of Western Greece, we have Fokion Zaimis, which is the Deputy Governor of Entrepreneurship Research and Innovation. We have, of course, Professor Zol Chrysi. I hope I will say correctly, although I'm Greek. Chrysilouris, if I said correctly, excuse me, Professor, if I said it quickly. And of course, Mr. Dr. Pantelis Nikolaidis, who tried to organize this together. Then, of course, Mrs. Katarzyna Kaba and Richard Orliski, that will present what is going on from Poland and from the challenge of the Prime Minister. And then, of course, Marina Andrio from Digital Skills and Job Coalition will brief us what is going in Luxembourg. And then finally, Adrian Alberti and Hohat Rabinovich will tell us what is going on around the globe, to see what is going on around all there. Yep, and
Slide, please.
yeah. So thank you, George. So what I was saying is important to see you. We know that you're behind. So in order to save time, and we don't have time to each of one of you to speak, but you will be afterwards in the questions and answer sessions. We will be really grateful if you just write your name, full name, function and role of your organization, institution, and the country. So other participants can also see who you are, so you can get connected, and the other can get connected to the other as well. So we would like to ask you to start and write on the chat. I think you can go to everyone, then start typing your name in one comment, function, role, institution, organization, and country. So yeah, Manle. Okay, started already working. Thank you so much for this. So we will have this there for everyone to see. And of course, don't hesitate to write any comments. Okay, so this is very important, because when you have the registration, we ask from you, what do you expect from this webinar? Or what is your what you want to see, what is like what you want to, why you wanted to be part of this. And we want to see how all these bubble things that you can see in this, how it's called, bubble thing, anyway, I forgot it always, the cloud thing, what was important from many of you. So we try to combine it all together and see important is the synergies and interoperability, and of course the digitals. We see a lot of digitals learnings and courses. Together, all together with our presenters, we see how this can be accomplished, and it can be because we work like without borders and without silos, and this can be accomplished, and we can accomplish synergy, and thus putting an important component of interoperability in place. And going further, I would like to pass the floor to George Lobo, that will present a bit how we start and how this start and how interoperability and all this can be linked together. George, the floor is yours, and I think we need to have the next slide.
Yeah, thanks. Today's webinar, it's, as we say, I mean, we will first start introducing in which context we created this academy, and so this has been this is the part we're currently. After we will have your presentation, we will present as well a first course that we developed, and I will mention what it is about. And then we hope we have quite some time to discuss and to have possibilities of collaboration. This will be done through tools such as Slido. So hope you already have on your phone or on your computer, and this will be shared soon. Next, please. Yes, next. So interoperability. So it's the name of the academy. Of course, it's the name of the ISA² program. I will tell why we didn't call it ISA² program. You will understand quite fast. But interoperability. So interoperability is a word that has been now. It's in many mouths. I mean, we heard it a lot during the current crisis. But our view, we have it the ability for the public sector administration, the public administration to interact between the ICT system, of course, that is the digital aspect, but it also implies not only exchange of data, but as well exchange of knowledge and information between the different entities. And we are operating as well at, so it's to help the administration to work more efficiently in their, I would say, in their sphere, be it local, national, regional. We reduce cost because we have also, we promote sharing and reuse of solution. And when you have to reuse an existing standard to be interoperable with others, you save also money. But as well, we have the European dimension, and it's something that is becoming more and more important also in the context, for example, the single digital gateway, where now public service must be able to operate as well on a cross-border level. And now we know as well with the COVID on the cross-domain level, that is very important. It's something that is also has been spotted. I mean, we have been working with a number of years on this, on interoperability, but now in the new digital strategy that was published by our president, Ms. von der Leyen, the EU digital strategy, there is a call to have a reinforced EU government interoperability strategy by end of the year. Next. So what is the interoperability and our view? So what we have been doing for many years, the European Interoperability Framework, some of you might have heard of it, I suppose. And as I say, it's not just about technical. I mean, technical, it's how you connect the systems, and this is done, I would say, with some efficiency, not always. We have semantics, so semantic is to agree on how to describe the data you may have. So the data you're hosting, the data you exchange mostly. And after you have aspects that are sometimes not seen and which are very important. Organizational, so it's really on how you enable to have your structures to coordinate the interoperability, to make agreements between the different stakeholders, and also to align the business processes between different public administrations. And the legal interoperability, which is also very important, is we are mostly focusing now also on the digital ready legislation, because sometimes legislation is made in the spirit of I would say just to do something that was based on paper, and here we need to ensure now that every information is passing through IT system, that we are ready to go to that direction. Next. So, and the ISA² program. So this is a program that started in 2016 and it's ending this year. So we are on the last financing year of the ISA² program. And this is why we didn't choose ISA², because the program is finishing. But just to say about this program, so this is the program that promotes the framework. So it's we promote it, but also we monitor and we support its implementation in the member states. And we, of course, also do identify, create, and operate solutions. So it can be software, specification, frameworks, and we do also a number of studies in different domains. And everything that we promote and we create or we operate are open source. So, and I will show you after the next slide some example of solution. And as well, our idea is to come up with this solution. It's to support cross-border, cross-sector, and user-centric public administration. Because now also IT there is an important element that IT now is not only about connecting systems and mimicking paper procedure, but it is as well transforming the way we interact. And now the citizen has to be at the heart of every new design. And of course, the last point, which is why we're here today, and the Academy was created for that, is to facilitate the reuse of the interoperability solution by the European Public Administration. Next. And here is just an example of NotCom. So this is our the type of solutions. So we have network, we have specifications, we have software that you can use. We have services such as uSurvey that you use to register here. So these are, we have a number of assets. And I think this is my last slide, just to say that ISA² is finishing this year, but we will be continuing that in the Digital Europe program that you may have heard of in the specific Objective 5. And the Academy will continue there, and also the development maintenance of the majority of the solutions you can see here today. So I think that's all. I'll give back the floor to, can you go to next, just to be sure? Yeah. So now I give the floor back to Victoria to present more in detail the Academy. Thanks.
Thank you, George, for the quick introduction. And indeed, ISA² maybe is not ISA² as a name, but we all know that the work that has been done all these years. And it started from IWC, so it's a long way to history. And we will try to continue all the unit and all the people that participated all those years, even before our time, to accomplish interoperability. Now, how this can help interoperability and how the project can help and reach the goals of interoperability and to promote. So the main objective of interoperability is, of course, is to provide advanced digital skills mainly to civil servants, but not only. Everyone, of course, can follow. So the other thing is to make people aware of the solutions and reuse them. And of course, in the final end, to support implementation of EIF and improve as a whole the advanced digital skills in the public sector. Here I will make not a full stop, just a stop, to say that in order to help people to understand solution is to train them. One of the important things is to train people to understand better than think, rather than making on having several documents or things. So the training and making them familiar and easy to use something help us also to gradually move to this process. In order to accomplish this, we have a platform that we will say more things about it afterwards. That will be full online, full available for all days. It will be supported from EU, European Union Academy as a whole. And we will have, of course, Interoperability Academy there. We will offer not only learning courses, but some of them will be like webinars or even face-to-face sessions that can be combined with the courses as well. So there will be not only you can work, so it will be webinar, face-to-face, or winter schools or other things that will be in parallel to working with this. So not one way only. And of course, we will award the certificate via the platform of completion to each of the courses. We have now EIF. There will be more, of course, in the future. And of course, this can help you put it in your CV and also enhance that you know this knowledge. Next slide, please. More or less what we have done so far. There are several initiatives and stakeholders. What we try to do in order to say that we try not to work alone, because there are already several initiatives, several countries, and several experts that are working around this many years before. So as you see, we try to put them all in one place. And here are some numbers which are indicative because we just started. It's not like having many years. But what I want to say is that we we are focused on the advanced digital skills, but mainly for ISA² and self-building block solutions, because this is our field. So we start with this. Next slide, please. Okay, so briefly, what is out there until now? As we have said, what we work regarding the educational approach now in the academy. So just to separate, we have in Join a platform, the community for everyone to join and give their material and share all around the world what they have done. And not here, JoinUp has more than 16,000 users worldwide up to now. So you can put there, make other people learn what you are doing. And we will have there also our material. Our material is a list of educational resources that we put them in a catalog, very well organized. As already said, there are updates on the JoinUp collection that you can see what we are doing. So everything that we are doing is there, open, transparent for everyone to see. And also we have a lot of knowledge sharing with experts and also what we do. One of the things that we like to see here, thank you for the link, Ludo, is there on the chat for JoinUp, is a study that we like to present briefly for you. Each one of the outcomes, all the other you can see them in JoinUp, is the framework that it's combined skill and competencies framework for the public sector. It's a study in process now. And I would like to present Cesar to present us a bit about it and himself. Cesar, the floor is yours. And next slide, please.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Yes, as Victoria was mentioning, we are really working in this project to create the first framework for skill and capacities in terms of interoperability for the public sector. And for this, to achieve the creation of this framework, we have been following different steps. First, we analyzed important literature regarding frameworks that are related with interoperability plus skills and capacities. Among them, we check the skills and competence qualifications and occupations framework for the public sector. It is an important base of the framework that we are developing. Also, based on the analysis that we did of the different framework, we managed to develop an initial framework. This is the image that now you can see in the slide. Is presenting our first attempt to develop this framework. However, since this is a first attempt that was produced based on literature review, we went to a validation process. This validation process has had two steps. During the first step, we consulted with other experts on their opinion, and based on their opinion, we reworked a new version of the framework. And after we created that version, we now share this new version with potential users for whom this framework can be important. And after doing this and receiving also this validity, this feedback from them, we are now working in the final stage of the developing of our framework.
Cesar, many thanks for this quick glimpse. It's work in progress. We all, you can see this one is finalized, of course, in JoinUp. And I would like to go to the next slide and pass the floor to Ludovic Mayor to say a bit what is coming next for you. Ludo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Victoria. I'm Ludovic Maillot from Traces International, and I'm the project manager for this Interoperability Academy project. And basically, so what is coming next for you? So I think George and Victoria already explained the context and what we achieved so far after more than a year of work on this assignment. What's next? First of all, of course, it's what we call the EU Academy, because the idea is to have the Interoperability Academy hosted, let's say, on a broader initiative from the European Commission, which is called the EU Academy. And the EU Academy, the idea behind is really to rationalize all the different academies that exist at the moment within the European Commission into one central place. Of course, relying on EU login for the authentication method. And the Interoperability Academy will be part of it. And the final date of release still need to be communicated, but it will definitely be by beginning of next year. So also, of course, one of the idea and the presentation that will come next are good example of that, but we do not want to reinvent the wheel, and we are really aiming to integrate courses that are already created by different organizations or member states. And so the idea here is that it's really a simple process to integrate courses already created and made available by other similar initiatives. Certificate of completion was already mentioned, but this is, of course, digital badges. These kind of things are really more and more important nowadays, that can be shared then on your social media, on LinkedIn, for example. So this is, of course, something that will be made available for everyone completing a course on the Interoperability Academy. And of course, everything is for free. So that's quite important here. Last but not least, what we will also give with this Interoperability Academy is the possibility to download what we call the SCORM package. So SCORM package is a standard, SCORM is a standard that is used for you if you want to basically integrate the courses that are put on the Academy into another platform that you are managing, for example. So this is also to increase the sharing and reuse aspects. So in a nutshell, I would say this is what you can be expecting for the coming weeks and months. Next. So also Victoria was already mentioning the JoinUp platform. So I think most of you are probably already aware of this collaborative platform from the European Commission. Here we have definitely, and you can see a screenshot of this space that we have created. So meaning it's really a specific collection, how we call it, that basically summarize all content related to digital skills in the public sector. So here it definitely goes even broader than simply the Interoperability Academy, which is one part of this collection. But here we put the link on the chat, and you can definitely register to this collection to stay up to date, with different events that are happening in terms of digital skills. You can, of course, it's interactive, so you can comment, you can create discussion also about any topic that may be of interest for you. The good point is that, as you can see, we have already almost 100 experts that are already participants into this collection. So it's becoming quite a nice community if you want to share your expertise, but also to get comments, best practices, and lessons learned from others. Probably, as you can see also on the bottom right corner of this slide, we have also, of course, a generic email address for the Interoperability Academy project specifically, which is iop-academy@ec.europa.eu. So this is an email address that you can use. The project team is following this email address, and this is a good way to get in touch with our project specifically if you want. And now probably a very interesting part of this webinar, because we have been already presenting everything that was achieved, but again, as I mentioned, we have been driven in this project by really not reinventing the wheel. This is really important. So we started the project from scratch, but we really wanted to benefit also from the experience of other similar initiatives. And Natalia was mentioning at the beginning of this webinar that there are very good examples of similar initiatives. And this is the reason why today we have not one, neither two nor three initiatives, but 4 initiatives that will be presented to you. And what we try to achieve here is to have even initiatives that are made at different levels, because those are all levels that we are exploring, where we want to build synergies. And first one will be an initiative from Greece, the Perifereia 4.0. Another one will be the Polish civil service from Poland, that will be at national level in this case. Another national initiative will be in Luxembourg about the Digital Skills and Job Coalition. And the last but not least presentation will be from colleagues from the United Nations. So probably it's really, again, a great pleasure to have all these representatives from these different initiatives with us and sharing their expertise with us today. And I propose not to wait anymore to have the first initiative, which is coming from Greece. I already mentioned Perifereia 4.0. And an initiative you will see that's supported by several ministries in Greece, Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Development and Investment, but also the National Transparency Authority, the University of Patras. So it's a lot of stakeholders involved into this. And today we will have, as presented already by Victoria, we will have Dr. Pantelis Nikolaidis, who is a digital skills expert and advisor to the Secretary General for Interior and Organization. We will have Mr. Miralis Stavrianokoudakis, Secretary General of Interior and Organization on behalf of the Ministry of Interior. And we will have also Mr. Fokion Zeimis, who is Deputy Governor of Entrepreneurship, Research and Innovation on behalf of the region of Western Greece, accompanied by Professor George Chrysoulouris on behalf of the University of Patras. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lobo. Thank you very much, IO Academy team, for the invitation. It is an honor for us to be part of this event and to present our initiative today. Before several months, a number of governmental bodies, regional authorities, academia and research institutions joined their efforts to confront the problem of the transition of Greek regions to the fourth industrial revolution. A recommendation of studies from EU institutions and OECD supported the need of such initiatives towards the transition based on a smart specialization perspective. We have started then design an initiative named Perifereia 4.0. In Greek language, Perifereia means region, and one of the pillars focused on the capacity building of regional public workforce. Next, please. And next. It is obvious that such initiatives should include the political mandate to meet local needs and to include the stakeholders, academia, to support smart specializations for the key enabling technologies. To this end, our presentation today consists of three parts. The political aspect of that Perifereia 4.0 relies on, and the Secretary General of Interior will present us. The description of the local advanced digital skills needs, and the Deputy Governor of region of Western Greece will present us, and the teaching factory that will be the base of our New Skills Academy for our initiative. So please, Secretary General, Mr. Stavrianokoudakis, the floor is yours, and please change the next slide. And next slide, please. Mr. Stavrianokoudakis, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Pantelis. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's a great pleasure and honor to be with you today. I thank the European Commission and especially the Interoperability team for the invitation to present an important initiative that we are developing in the region of Western Greece. I would like to start my presentation with the results of a previous teleconference held about 2 weeks ago with representatives from region and municipalities of Greece on the digital transformation of local government in the context of the pandemic. The most important problem they mentioned was the IOB of their internal systems in the municipalities, including their interconnection with the national information systems, but also with the system on a regional level. This is because due to the pandemic, a significant part of existing communication and service with the citizen must be met digitally. The lack of IOB of their existing system highlights it as an immediate priority for them. Greece faced consecutive years of recession and recently showed signs of improvement, with 2018 marking the end of an 8-year rescue program by the International Monetary Fund. During these years, the promotion of the investment, adoption, diffusion, and use of advanced digital tools in the public sector was not one of the top priorities for the government, including, of course, the IOB one. On the contrary, our Greek government has placed the digitalization of the public sector as a central topic of its economic and social development policy for the country. There is no doubt that when a country advances in digital transformation, the access to opportunities resources and outcomes will not be distributed equitably without the necessary government intervention. For instance, the national, regional, and local governments will have varying levels of digitalization, and consequently, citizens and businesses in proximity enjoy different spillover benefits. In the current context, one of the key questions facing the policy project is how central and local government cooperation will help address the ongoing problem posed by both technology and new developments requirements due to the pandemic. In this direction, the joint initiative between the Ministry of Interior and the region of Western Greece was developed on the basis of a strategy for the development of the administrative capacity of the regions. Our initiative is called to respond to the need to address long-term issues concerning the causes of reduced efficiency and effectiveness of public administration through cooperation at central and regional level. From the beginning, the initiative aimed at the transition of the region to the fourth industrial revolution, asking questions such as, is the fourth industrial revolution associated with a significant change at the level of municipality or a region, or do we simply see it's a high-tech intervention applied exclusively in advanced digital countries and therefore has nothing to do with our environment? Can we withstand this kind of intervention in the current difficult condition? I believe we have two options: to do nothing and suffer from the consequences, or to adopt solutions based on digital data and cutting-edge technology as a strategic tool in order to meet some of our most difficult and developmental challenges. But all this presupposes a human resource in the public sector with advanced skills that will support all these interventions. In this regard, we are called to identify existing skill gaps, but also to help public organizations in a regional level to be able to assess not only the digital maturity of their organization, but also to help them confront the challenges of a fourth industrial revolution transition and to plan action that will help them achieve their goals. This is particularly important given the implication of responding to COVID-19 and focusing on long-term sustainable reforms that can provide the public sector with the capacity it needs to meet the challenges of the 21st century. Digital skills is a core component in the capacity and capability of the local government to advance its digitalization strategy and plan. They should include professional digital skills such as programming, web or app development, and data and analytics, digital user skills, and digital leadership and management skills. At the same time, they should also understand the importance of key enabling technologies such as nanotechnology and biotechnology, which are part of the smart specialization of a region. The answer should be given by all stakeholders at regional level, including academic institutions and research organizations, but always in close collaboration with policymakers. Thank you, and I wish fruitful meeting.
Thank you very much, Secretary General, and I will ask Deputy Governor of the region of Western Greece, Mr. Fakir Zaimis, to describe the digital skills perspective for the regional public workforce. Mr. Zaimis, the floor is yours.
Dear Mr. Nikolaidis, Your Excellency,
Please, next slide, please. Okay.
Yes. First of all, I would like to greet Mr. Stavrianoudakis, and I would like to thank him for his collaboration on this initiative that we have started, and I would like to greet all the people who are in this webinar. Dear Interoperability Academy team, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the Interoperability Academy team and the European Commission for the invitation to present and discuss with you one of the most challenging issues for the region of Western Greece, or how to learn and teach advanced digital skills to our public organizations. Our digital, green and smart future is exciting, an undiscovered area full of new possibilities and new opportunities. And our region needs to become smart to harness these opportunities. We need more cooperation and more joint investments. We need more opportunities for companies to scale up their ideas and get benefits from a connected global economy. As the Secretary General mentioned before, our approach stands on how to manage our regional industrial transition along with all policymakers and stakeholders in order to improve the what and how of policies that promote industrial change and advanced digital skills to become a pillar of our design. But let me start my presentation with some interesting data. The region of Western Greece, as you can see, includes 3 regional units and 19 municipalities, with 41,000 approximately public servants who work for all the public authorities of our region. As local governments assess and plan for their ambitions of greater digital transformation to become reality, the future of the public sector workforce is critical. Local governments need not only acknowledge the necessary skill gaps, but to be able to draw on training material that helps to first evaluate the digital maturity of their organizations and then follow up with informed decisions and policy actions that create the right conditions for success. This is particularly important given the implications of responding to this unfortunate event of COVID-19, where we have to focus on new, long-term and sustainable reform that can provide the public sector with the workforce that it needs to be diverse, to reflect the society that local governments serve, and finally, of course, to serve the citizen, because this is our final target. A preliminary model was first elaborated and will be developed under the framework of Perifereia 4 initiative. Perifereia stands for the Greek word of local government. 4 areas we consider under this model. First, digital user skills. Those skills that allow the public workforce to properly use digital technologies and take the full benefit of digital productivity tools. Second, digital professional skills, attracting and maintaining specialists in digital technologies in the public sector. That's very important. 3, digital complementary skills, new skills necessary to ensure that those public service professions that are transformed through digitalization are able to continue being effective. And 4, digital management and leadership skills, ensuring that the digital mindset is distributed throughout the public workforce and is able to encourage the opportunities and benefits while acknowledging and handling the challenges of digital transformation. If I had to shape our framework, I will mention 4 main aims. First, we need to create an environment to encourage digital talent. Second, we must focus on skills for a digital government. 3, we have to establish and maintain our digital workforce. And 4, we need to enhance transparency and to provide equal opportunities. Thus, our academy should be focused on attraction of talents, retaining talents, developing and maintaining skills, allocation of talents and skills, reforming the digital environment, improving gender equality and transparency. Finally, I would like to emphasize on a critical factor, that is a high-level network of partners that we have created involving the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Development and Investments, the General Secretariat for Family Policy and Gender Equality, the National Transparency Authority, the University of Patras is the largest university in the area with more than 50,000 approximately students, the Computer Technology Institutes and Press Diophantus. As you know, the city of Patras holds a lot of, has an environment of academia and research, which is quite important for Greece, but I think it's important also for Europe. We have the University of Patras, we have the Hellenic Open University, we have the University of Peloponnese, and that all creates an environment of high-level skills, but need to be passed on to the public sector and, of course, the private sector as well. I would like to thank you, and I would say that the digital transformation that we are obliged to do now because of the pandemic is we have to make it an opportunity. We will soon come out of this tragic moments that we live, so we have to keep the positive side of this crisis. And one of the positive things is that we are being forced to go to a digital environment. Therefore, we should not, when we come out of this crisis, we should not go back to the way we used to do business, especially in the public sector, but we should go one step further to keep all the positive sides of the digital transformation and even go further. And the public sector has to do the first step. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Governor. Next slide, please. We have already started to elaborate two key enabling technologies, the artificial intelligence and the advanced manufacturing, since there are a number of large companies in Western Greece region operating as public sectors and public bodies. So I will ask Professor George Chrysoulouris to present us the teaching factory and the role of the European Institute of Technology as supporters of their action.
Hello, everybody.
The floor is yours. Thank you very much.
There is an echo, yes? Can you hear me?
You are creating the echo yourself. You have two devices on. You need to mute the sound on the other one.
Actually,
you're twice there. You should turn off the other device.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry for that. Thank you very much for the invitation. Thanks for the nice introduction, and thank you the personnel from the Academy and also the previous speakers. The things that I'm going to talk about is a little bit the subject of a kick of a knowledge innovation community, which is called EIT Manufacturing, of which our university, our laboratory is the coordinator. Next slide, please. I will come back to this kick in a minute. The way we see things here is following this sort of digital ecosystem. We see Industry 4.0 on the one hand, and Society 4.0 on the other hand, and certainly the Perifereia 4.0 includes all these stakeholders. There is industry, there is tech providers, there is certainly the public sector, universities, but also venture capital, namely the possibilities that we invest in new technology and new things to happen. So next slide, please. We follow a concept which we'll call teaching factory. And the teaching factory concept is coming essentially from the medical sector, whereby people are educated in the medical sector in teaching hospitals. So we are thinking maybe people in engineering, and not only in engineering, but generally speaking in industry, should maybe follow some concepts of that nature, namely being educated and being skilled and reskilled within an environment of real industry. So what we think here is maybe that we can use that concept, I will say a few more words about it in a minute, for the public sector, namely to, on the one hand, have industry people that have problems, that have challenges, that they would like to have a dialogue with the public sector, that they would like to have collaborative schemes with the public sector, that they can sort of have issues that they would like to be addressed by the public sector. And on the other hand, you have the authorities that need to address these needs and need somehow to come closer to industry. So the teaching factory for the public sector aims at this point, aims at coming closer industrial practice and industrial needs to the public sector and vice versa, namely the tools that the public sector has that can be offered to the industrial needs. So from that perspective, one can use modern technologies, ICT, to make sure that the public sector and industry comes closer and quicker. And for that matter, is maybe, as maybe Mr. Zaimis said, the COVID is an opportunity because we're getting used to work remotely. And in this way, we can even come closer by working remotely without having to travel a lot and doing a lot of things. We can somehow work remotely and bring problems to the public sector and the tools of the public sector to the industry quicker. Let me see the next slide. This sort of concept it has been promoted, as I said, within the knowledge innovation community, which is called EIT Manufacturing, is funded by EIT, and has some 60 partners, industry and academia and research institutions. And the basic idea of that concept in that context, in the context of the EIT manufacturing, is that universities and, generally speaking, institutions that do provide education, they come closer with the help of modern technology to the industrial practice, namely to come closer to what the factory is doing, what the company is doing, see what the company is doing, see what the problems the company has, and the students address issues and look into how the problems of the industry can be solved, also from an academic perspective. The other way around is that very often the universities can provide skilling and reskilling to the industrial partners by using this modern technology. So the basic idea is to bring industry and academia in one scheme, which we call the teaching factory, and that scheme to be used on the one hand to solve industrial problems, and on the other hand to skill and reskill people within the industrial environment. The concept has been sort of applied to certain projects. For example, we had the project between the University of Patras and Volvo. We picked two regions that are in the two sort of very far away elements of Europe, very north and very south. And we had that applying this teaching factory between the University of Patras and Volvo facilities, and we seem to have very good results and very attractive to industry and to academia. At this point of time, within the EIT manufacturing, we're creating a network of universities and industrial partners that help on that. And what we think is that we pilot that in the region of Western Greece in a way that will help the public sector understand the problems of the industry, and the industry understands the tools of the public sector. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this presentation. I think it's a really solid example of how to bridge the digital skills gaps at a regional level. So thanks a lot. For all the participants, should you have any question about what was just explained by the colleagues from Greece, you have basically two possibilities. You can use the chat so that they can directly reply to you with the chat, but you know that we will also conclude this webinar with a Q&A session. So you will also have the possibility, if you prefer to raise your question directly, to make it during this session at the end of this webinar. So thanks a lot again. And I propose now that we can move to another initiative, so an initiative at national level in Poland. And in this case, this second presentation will be about e-learning in the Polish civil service. And in that regard, we have Katarzyna Kaba and Richard Orlinski that will make this presentation for you. Katarzyna is project and training team leader, and Richard is chief specialist, project and training team, and they will present on behalf of the Department of Civil Service from the Chancellery of the Prime Minister in Poland. So now the floor is yours. We have again a little echo. Yeah, thank you. So Katarzyna, Richard.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for the floor. And Richard, I think I would ask you to start the presentation if you're with us. Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for invitation. It is a privilege to be here with you today. My name is Richard Orlinski, and I'm working in the Chancellery of the Prime Minister of Poland. First, I would like to present a part of our work in the Department of the Civil Service. I would like to say a few words about civil service. It is over 1,800 offices all over the country, 120,000 potential users. Next slide, please. It is crucial to have in civil service competent officials. I mean professionals who do their job real well. So this is where e-learning comes in. The e-learning civil service system was established in 2007. The online training courses are used to increase skills of Polish civil servants. The starting point was a needs analysis and annual reports of Poland's head of the civil service. Every year, the Poland's head of the civil service stresses the importance of the e-learning process. Next slide, please. On the current slide, you can see the splash screen of our platform and the main menu. We have over, I think now we have over 48,000 users at the moment. In the era of coronavirus, it grows really fast. As you can see, in the menu, we have an area of frequently asked questions and technical support. We have a help desk system for handling tickets where all users can get help about platform and our courses. Next slide, please. We divide courses into 6 categories, as you can see: interpersonal, management, law and administration, economy and finance, IT courses, analytical courses. These are categories that have been coming out for years. They appear in training needs. Most users use interpersonal and management courses. We have the most courses in these 2 categories. Next slide, please.
Yes, and if I just may add to that, as Richard mentioned before, we have 120,000 civil servants in Poland working in almost 2,000 offices, and it is important to know that they serve a variety of areas and a variety of subjects. So this is the variety of subjects from government policies to things like veterinary inspection. So this is why we have 6 categories, and we not only have interpersonal and management courses, sort of general courses, but also specialized courses on geolocation, etc. Yes, over to you, Rashad.
So okay, so the next one. On the slide, I would like you to show just the list of our courses. They are listed alphabetically. You can see them all, or for example, you can just pick one category. Next slide, please. So the e-learning platform was built on the basis of Moodle 3.7 learning management system, which enabled on an upgrade to higher version. As I mentioned before, civil servants are our target audience. It is free to use and available in the internet. For that, we made a few assumptions. For example, users of the e-learning course may use any web browser with current versions of standard universal web browsers. The course is responsive. We make efforts to increase the level of the web content accessibility guidelines standards in our courses. And they are prepared in Polish and consists main information screens and interactive exercise screens. At the end, the user can make a final test and after that get a certificate. Next slide, please.
Hello, can you hear us?
Can I have the next slide, please? Okay, thank you. The current slide shows the number of users. In the last year, we have doubled the number of users. As you can see, we noticed a significant increase of users at the March-April. Monthly increase was rapid, over 5,000 new users. For sure, the increase was due to remote work at the time. Currently, we observe over 1,000 new users per month. Next slide, please. Here we have 5 of our most popular courses. So the first, Stress and Time Management, is our top of the top. We refresh it and publish again in October. The second is Ethical Behavior in the Civil Service, Assertive Communication, Customer Service, and Decision-Making Skills. Next slide, please. We develop courses ourselves and cooperate with external providers, institutions, enterprises. New courses are developed or bought based on needs analysis report of the head of the civil service, questionnaires completed by users at the end of the course. Next slide, please.
I'd like to add just a few words that the external providers that provide the content and the courses are selected on the basis of the public procurement law. So those are the two general sources, the two main sources, external providers or our internal sources. And as Rashad said, we also produce the courses ourselves. Thank you.
Next slides show a few screens of our courses. I'd like you to show some examples. As I said before, Stress and Time Management is our top of the top. We refresh it and publish again. Next slide, please. In March, we published the course How to Protect Yourself Against Viruses. It is also very popular, especially today. Next slide, please. Effective Team Management. This is one of our newest courses on base face-to-face. Next slide, please. Ethical Behavior. There are 3 courses for persons occupying senior positions in the civil service, persons not occupying senior positions, and persons taking up a job for the first time positions in the civil service. Members of the civil service are obligated to do this course once in a while. Next slide, please. This is customer service. It is an interactive course and also very popular. Next slide, please. And this is my email address, so don't hesitate to contact, please. Perhaps you have now some questions or just after the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Katarzyna and Richard. Do we have any question to address to these two presenters?
Yeah, maybe I will ask one. What are your next plans? The future now, how you will develop your initiative?
So I can tell you about our nearest plans, because we are going to update 4 courses and publish 4 new about decision-making skills, project management, customer satisfaction. So all of them, 12, will be released in December or January. This is our plan. If there appears a course from Academy of Interoperability, we'll be happy to include it in our platform.
I think it's also worth mentioning that we are working right now on a course on the new public procurement law. This law comes into force in January the next year, but we also are already preparing a course to teach the civil servants on the new law that has not been introduced yet, but has not come into force, but we also are preparing some information and actually more than some information, because this will be a comprehensive course. So thank you very much once again for listening to us.
Sorry, there is another question from the
yes.
Is from Mr. Tobias Granchow. I don't know if you want to take to ask the question directly, Tobias.
I could. I just need to unmute myself and maybe start the video again. So hello and thank you for your presentation. It was very nice to listen to you and see all your effort. I was just wondering whether you have kind of like learning paths developed so that every civil servant knows which courses to complete, or if they're completely free of choosing the courses they want to do.
This is related to the career paths that are made available and are defined for every civil servant. They are defined not only on the basis of the e-learning courses, because we also organize face-to-face training courses. So every civil servant has their own career path described in the documents, and it is reviewed every 2 years. And it does happen that in these, frequently happens that in these career paths, they have included e-learning courses. But now what we can observe when so many people are working from home is that more and more people are registering for almost all the courses that we have in the system. So I'm sure that they do not have 45 training courses in their career paths. It's probably that they have the time working from home to also improve their skills and competencies. But yes, the career paths are set for every civil servant, but we do not have a career path in the system as such. I'm not sure if it answers the question.
Yeah, perfectly fine. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I do have a question as well. Sorry to jump in. The courses that you are providing, you said what some of them are in a normal course. Is it possible as well that you have this course that they can do themselves? So they register for a course, they can do it at any time they wish to? Or is it always that they are guided?
No, the courses that we have in our system are made available to everyone at the time they please. and they are made available in the internet, not in the intranet. So the civil servants can use them anytime, even at night.
Okay, super. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks a lot again, Richard and Katarina, for this very interesting presentation. And this is here also a typical example of an initiative where I'm sure that we will need to further explore synergies between the Interoperability Academy and your initiative. So thanks again. And now I will welcome on stage Marina from Luxembourg. Marina is the coordinator of the Digital Skills and Job Coalition in Luxembourg. We had the pleasure to make an introduction to our Interoperability Academy in one of their latest online meeting last week, basically. And today is the turn of Marina to explain to us a bit more what Digital Skills and Job Coalition is and what are the main activities in Luxembourg. Marina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ludovic. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Marina Andrieu. I'm the coordinator of the Digital Skills and Jobs Coalition for Luxembourg, and I'm very happy to be here to present the work that we do. I don't know how familiar you are with Digital Skills and Job Coalition in general, so I will give you a brief overview of what it's about at EU level and more in details what we do in Luxembourg. Next slide, please. So Digital Skills Center Coalition are a EU-led initiative, but in Luxembourg we have several partners to implement, and it's important to say that we have private partners and public partners supporting us. Thank you. Next slide. So the coalitions, to make it short, were designed several years ago at EU level in order to support member states and to get all together companies, social partners, non-profit organizations, education providers who want to take action to tackle the lack of digital skills in Europe. And obviously, member states were encouraged to set up their own coalition. So what are the objectives for national coalition? As I said, support members to develop digital skills strategies at national level, focus on collaboration and be open to new relevant stakeholders and members, and act as connector between public authorities, businesses, training, educational providers. So when I started with a coalition 2 years ago, in Luxembourg, the coalition was launched at the very beginning. So I guess nearly 5 years ago, I was a member with my organization, WIDE. Then I volunteered to become the coordinator. And what I saw, it was a lot of interest, a lot of people, a lot of organizations have something to say when it comes to digital skills and jobs and to have potential solutions to fill the gap. So we really ask our members, why do you want to be part of this coalition? You know, on my side, I was very much motivated by the collaboration side. And also, I strongly believe that it's important to tap into collective intelligence to design new solutions. What came from our members was a need for better visibility on projects. We have lots of digital skills projects in Luxembourg, and sometimes they are not as well known as they should. Also a need for matchmaking. We are very well-established players, obviously, when it comes to ministries or chambers, but we also have loads of interesting initiatives coming from the ground, especially with non-profit. And these initiatives need to be connected because they often looking for the resources to make their initiative or programs happen. But more importantly, all the members who were joining the coalition had the willingness to make an impact. So have great discussion, but also create something concrete and see a change for Luxembourg when it comes to digital skills and jobs. So we also ask our members, what are your priorities? And I guess the priorities are very similar across Europe. in Luxembourg, when it comes to basic digital skills, we're quite good. I think according to the DESA studies, we have one of the lowest rate of adults with low digital skills. So that's quite good. And we also have a very good infrastructure. So the focus that came first was education. So clearly, how do we create links between education and the workplace? That's a number one priority and motivation factor, I will say as well from companies. Training, upskilling, and reskilling. So basically, how do we make sure that we train and retrain the staff that we need for the jobs of today and tomorrow? And that could be retraining someone who has no particular background in IT to a job as a web developer, let's say, or it could be making sure that the ICT experts get access to the right education to advance the skills and get access to expert skills. And also attracting IT specialists. This is also a strong priority for many companies in Luxembourg, as well as the state and the government. It's how do we find the IT specialists that we need? Well, I guess that's the same challenge across Europe, and I've heard it from many in many other European countries and even beyond. But obviously, we need to be very creative to make sure to attract the right talent to Luxembourg. Next slide, please. Yeah. Okay, so how do we do it in Luxembourg? I have to say that we have around 50 members, and what is very nice in our coalition is that we have half private sector members and half public sector members. So it's a good diversity, and it's actually very interesting to have discussions. The needs are different, but there are also similarities between this kind of organization. So obviously, we want to collaborate. We want to make sure that our members are engaged in the coalition, so make sure that they can have a say and that they can make suggestions and be connected to the right people to make it happen, and also give visibility to their own initiative. We also work to articulate with EU initiatives. So we know that there are many initiatives at EU, European Commission level when it comes to digital skills. I think this is one of a very interesting initiative, and we need to make sure that the people in Luxembourg know about this initiative. So this is also why we invited the team to our last webinar in Luxembourg, and this is why I'm here today. And finally, bring concrete outcomes. As I mentioned before, really an important goal for our coalition is to create impact and to create a real change, to find concrete solutions to the issues or challenges that we're facing at the moment. So, well, we have a national platform because one of the needs what came very often is, can we have a place, can we have a website where all the digital skills and job initiatives in Luxembourg are listed? You know, we have many platform or websites from different training providers, but having one place was something that came up very often. So we built our own national platform. But the good news is that the European Commission has launched a new program within Connecting Facilities Europe. And if everything is going well, by early 2022, we will have a common platform to all the National Digital Skills Coalition, and all this platform will connect together. So you will be able to find initiative in your own country and also access resources and news from other EU member states. And I think that's a real added value. So we will be working on this next year. And I think it's important to know that this should be available in most EU countries, and also thanks to the main core platform. So in terms of activities, obviously we need to engage our members and offer regular events or activities. Networking is very important. When we were fortunate enough to have in real life meetings, we always let a lot of time for people to connect, to meet, really in a very informal basis. Obviously, this is not really possible these days. So what we do, we organize a members meeting on a quarterly basis. We choose topics according to the recent news, but also on topics that seems to be very relevant and interesting to our members. So we organize a session on retraining, upskillings, of course, education. Well, just to give you an example, Luxembourg has now coding as a compulsory topic in primary education. So how do we make sure that the teacher are equipped with the right skills, and how do we make sure that this coding education is actually delivered in schools? Obviously, advanced digital skills such as AI, cybersecurity, HPC, and so on are really the kind of subject that we are trying to discuss, and we really want to make sure that our members have access to the most accurate and updated information. In addition, we want to make sure that they can have a say and ask questions and easily access the right stakeholders. Last year, we did something on 5G as well. We're very active on promoting 5G. Yes, thank you. So, and we invited 100 young students to discuss the future of work with 5G. It was very interesting as an example of connecting the workplace and the professionals with young people. And I know many members were very happy to take part in such initiatives. So that was a great success. And we have another big event that was supposed to happen this year, but we decided to postpone it. It's a digital skills matchmaking. So basically, we want to take organizations offering digital skills, and we want to take companies who are willing to support digital skills initiatives as part of their CSR programs, and to make sure that they meet and they can create a new initiative for the public. Yes. Thank you. So I guess in every country that you are representing, you can also become a member. Well, this is our page, our own site, but I guess most of the coalition have their own website, and if you type on a search engine, you will be able to locate your own coalition. And if you feel that you have something to share or to promote with other stakeholders in your country, I will strongly encourage that you contact the coordinator of your National Digital Skills and Job Coalition. Yes, so that was the main information that I wanted to share with you regarding the Digital Skills and Job Coalition and our experience in Luxembourg. And I think one very concrete example of the work that we do as connector is to promote the Academy. The organizers were able to contact us at the coalition, and then we made the right introduction to the right ministries, and we also offer an opportunity to present in front of our members. So this is really the kind of initiative that we want to take, and to be able to facilitate collaboration and sharing knowledge. Do you have any questions for me? I'm happy to take them.
Any question, anyone?
I'm just checking the chat. Okay, well, you have my email. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you have any question popping up to your mind later, feel free to ask or to connect via Ludovic or the organizers. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Marina, for this presentation. It's true that the collaboration between the Interoperability Academy and the coalition is already established now. It's a good synergy, and we can definitely go further. and it's always good to see some good initiative and results coming from Luxembourg. So thank you again. And now we will move to the fourth presentation of today. And here I would like to thank already Adriana Alberti and Jonas Rabinovich, who are both working for the United Nations in the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, DESA, and they are in the Division for Public Institution and Digital Government. So you will have, this presentation will be split in two parts, let's say. First part will be made by Adriana, who is Senior Governance and Public Administration Officer, and she will present to us an initiative that they have done, which is named Curriculum on Governance for the Sustainable Development Goals, where she will present global toolkits for enhancing the capacity of the civil service in developing countries primarily. Then the second part of this presentation will be done by Jonas Rabinovich, who is a Senior Advisor on Innovation and Digital Government for Public Service Delivery. And Jonas will present to us the Toolkit on Innovation and Digital Government for Public Service Delivery that was created by the United Nations. Adriana, I would say that the floor is yours.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Adriana.
Yes, thank you very much, Ludovic, for that introduction, and good afternoon to all of you. It is my great pleasure to join you, and I would like to thank the European Commission's Interoperability Academy for this very interesting and rich discussion. I've been taking many notes, and there is a lot to learn and to be shared. As Ludovic mentioned, I will focus on the curriculum on governance for the SDGs. But before doing that, I wanted to share with you just a little bit of the background. So as you know, in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, Goal 16 is dedicated to effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions. And this is already a great advancement with respect to the Millennium Development Goals, where there was no dedicated goal to governance issues. And after 5 years from the launch of the 2030 Agenda, we have seen that there is much commitment in large part among UN member states. However, there are still many gaps in terms of implementation. So how to implement the 2030 Agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals, and how to put in practice the principles of transformation, innovation, leaving no one behind, and intergenerational equity, which are at the core of the 2030 Agenda, with the goal of eradicating poverty everywhere and every form as the overarching goal within the 2030 Agenda. So one of the key, so starting from the 2030 Agenda, from the principles of the 2030 Agenda. Next, please. Yes, thank you. We have established a global initiative on governance, engaging schools of public administration, mostly from developing countries. And one of the products that we discussed is this curriculum on governance. Before going into the details of the purpose and how that curriculum was established, I also want to mention that one of the capacity development and training of trainers toolkits is on innovation and digital government. Here I would like to add that it is very important to think of digital government transformation, as others have also already mentioned, as not just about technologies, but rather about governance transformation, and innovation in support of a country's vision and strategy. Therefore, all of these various capacity development toolkits are important or relevant for government transformation. Another very important point that I think also emerged from the first presentation is that digital government transformation shows that we need a holistic approach that looks at all levels, starting from the institutional, organizational, individual level, but also societal level, where of course digital skills play a very important role. I would also like to add that digital skills are extremely important, but what we have been also discussing with schools of public administration, and we just had another meeting with the Asia Task Force 2 days ago, is that the digital mindset is very important as well. So when we talk about digital mindset, it's about the beliefs and attitudes. So just looking at skills and knowledge might not help to implement change, but really looking also at what are the beliefs and attitudes in the public sector towards the use of technologies and how to embrace change and how these technologies can actually help to transform government, to promote better public services for the well-being of all. So I just wanted to mention that. And in addition, I would like to mention that the 2020 UN government survey has a chapter on capacities for digital government transformation, where you can find a little bit more of these concepts of digital mindset. I also wanted to mention that the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs has UN Public Service Awards, and one of the categories, so if you wish to look at the winners, to include cases, innovative practices from around the world in your courses, the category 1 is on fostering innovation to deliver inclusive and equitable services through digital transformation. And we also have UN Public Service Awards Hub, where all these innovations are grouped by SDG. So that's just a resource that you might be interested in looking at. And 23rd June, I also want to remind everyone, is UN Public Service Day. And that's when we share all of these innovative practices from around the world. So going to back to the curriculum. The curriculum, as I mentioned, intends to bridge a little bit the gap between the intention of implementing the SDGs and the capabilities and the capacities to do so. And it's also to raise awareness among public servants of what the Sustainable Development Goals are and what type of new mindsets and capacities are needed. And the curriculum is a set of training of trainers it can be used for a face-to-face, 5-day or 3-day, or it could even be 30 days if you take the whole curriculum. We will also transform all of these capacity development toolkits into online courses. We can also customize them upon request of member states, and we have done so with Namibia just recently, where Jonas utilized some of the modules to respond to the specific needs of Namibia. We will offer certificate of attendance. We have a global community of practice, and the curriculum is hosted on the UN Public Administration Network for networking and online exchange. Next. So how was it developed and what's the starting point? As I mentioned, the starting point is really the 2030 agenda and its principles. But we also had meetings with the regional task forces of public administration. So let me also highlight that these toolkits are primarily meant for schools of public administration in developing countries, but anyone can use them. So we had a meeting where we brainstormed on what were to be the main pillars of this curriculum, and through engagement with schools of public administration, we came up with these 8 key pillars, but there are also others that will be added in the future. And how can the toolkits be used? It's a little bit, you know, as others have said before, so either they can be used on their own, or modules from one toolkit can be combined with those of other toolkits, and also modules can be included into existing curricula of schools of public administration. So it's done in a very flexible manner. Next. And who is in charge? Well, this is not a complete list, but as you can see, it is really a collective effort, a collaborative effort between UN officials, experts in academia, other UN agencies, schools of public administration. We, of course, we are coordinating the curriculum, but we rely on the feedback of, we rely on the feedback and inputs from various entities within the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, and also with other UN agencies, experts, academia, think tanks, and especially schools of public administration. Next. So I wanted to briefly go over the key topics. So the first one is transforming public servants' mindsets to implement the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And we also had recently a regional symposium where we asked participants, among which there were many schools of public administration, what are the key topics among all of these? And changing mindsets was on the top, together also with innovation and digital government, which of course is no surprise given also the situation in which we are living now. So, and we also have a toolkit on transparency, accountability, and ethics, one on institutional arrangements and governance capacities for policy coherence, where of course interoperability is a very important element, and we are looking forward to collaborating with the Academy. Next. Others are on effective national to local public governance, government innovation for social inclusion of vulnerable groups, risk-informed governance and innovative technologies for disaster risk reduction and resilience. And this is particularly important for the small island developing states. We have another toolkit on innovation and digital government for public service delivery, and another one on digital government implementation. Next. Thank you. And some time ago, we had developed one on e-government for women's empowerment. This is already available. And together with UNITAR, ECLAC, and DESA, we also developed a toolkit on integrated policies and policy coherence for the SDG. So as you can see, this is related to the issue of integration, which is so important because of the interconnections between and among the targets of the Sustainable Development Goals. Next. As I mentioned, the target audience is mainly the schools of public administration, but of course also resident coordinators, UN agencies, regional commissions, the members of the UNPAN, and even ourselves. We can utilize these toolkits. Next. And it is hosted on the UN Public Administration Network. We are currently revamping the network website, but also the membership. So if anyone is interested in joining, please get in touch with us. Next. And this is just to show you that it covers all the regions. So global, Africa, Americas, Asia, and the Pacific, Europe and Central Asia and the Middle East, and we follow the geographical groupings of the UN regional commissions. Next. And as others have also mentioned, we have a very rigorous review and vetting validation process, so that each toolkit is actually being reviewed by at least 5 reviewers. Reviewers include schools of public administration, so on the methodologies and what, especially the pedagogical approaches. We have experts, SEPA, Committee of Experts on Public Administration, that are also reviewing, and a think tank. So you can see here there are some of those that are collaborating with us, but we believe that validation and vetting, both in terms of content, methodology, and logical flow, and also interconnection between the various toolkits, because one of the unique characteristics is that it's developed as a holistic and interconnected package of toolkits. Next. So how we decide on next toolkits and courses. So we have meetings, regular meetings with the regional task forces of schools of public administration. We have task forces in Africa, Asia, and Central Asia. We will be working with Latin America, but we also work with NISPACI and RESPA in Europe. We also look at what are recommendations from the reports and in the UN Committee of Experts on Public Administration. And also we have surveys that we send after our webinars, and there we ask for feedback on what new topics and could be added. And as an UMPAN member, members will be able, now the website is being revamped, so the function is not there yet, but they will be able also to add their own courses, and this applies also to schools of public administration from the various regions of the world. Next. So this concludes my presentation, and I look forward to being in touch with all of you, and I'm very impressed by the work of the Academy, and looking forward to continued cooperation with all of you. And now Jonas will have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adriana. My name is Jonas Rabinovich. I am an advisor on innovation, digital government, and I'm very happy, very pleased, very honored to be here. And I've been learning a lot from the presentations. This is very important for us because as an advisor, I go to countries at their request, and they know I cannot be an expert in their own country. They are the experts in their own country. So I approach that with a lot of modesty. But one of the first questions they ask me is, what is going on around the world? What can we learn from other experiences? How can we apply that to our own reality? And they know what they need. They know what they want. We're not advising them about their own country because, as I said, they are experts. But if there is one key message from this presentation, one central message, is that it's very important to see what already happened. And it's very important, of course, to adapt to different contexts, what is already going on in other countries. So in that sense, countries learn from one another, as we know. That's part of the charter of the UN, promoting technical cooperation between countries. But if there is a key challenge, a key linkage, a key issue that was very important for us, is that this learning process has to be structured. And one challenge for structuring this learning process is the transition from individual skills, individual competencies, into organizational competencies, on capabilities at the organizational level. So in trying to do that in an organized, structured way, we have, for example, this toolkit on innovation and digital government, and I'll be emphasizing the digital assessment, which is one part of it in the benefit of time. The next one, please. So the curriculum, in this case, the toolkit, has 4 main modules: a situation analysis, visioning exercise, roadmap and action planning, and an evaluation. Within the situation analysis, the digital capability assessment is important, and I'll explain one. The next one, please. We usually face 3 different speeds in public administration. If we speak about digital transformation, there is technology in the 21st century spinning as if 3 different planets spinning in their own speeds. Technology at 10,000 kilometers per hour, organization and management at 1,000 kilometers per hour, and public policies much slower at 10 kilometers per hour. At least in the context of developing countries and least developed countries, public policies are still in the last century. Public institutions are still following structures created in the 19th century, while technologies in the 21st century. The next one, please. So when we focus on innovation, digital government, and mainly digital transformation, and we undertake the digital capability assessment, it's very important to understand that governments are not homogeneous, particularly in developing countries. Different institutions, different individuals have different perceptions about their own government. Digital government has been confirmed as a very active means for public service delivery, and I'll explain it later when I present briefly the UN government survey. And a whole of government approach, as was said here before, is fundamental. The next one, please. So we see digital maturity very much as a synonym for government maturity. There isn't much difference these days. And we identified 6 dimensions. They could be regarded as interoperability dimensions. There are many definitions for interoperability. I've been learning a lot today about additional elements of interoperability, but we try to identify 6 strategic entry points, which are leadership, strategy, governance, legal framework, technology, and professional and workforce development. And the idea of this toolkit is to have, initially it was a presential meeting, face-to-face meeting. We're now transforming it into an online webinar, but with representation not only from the Ministry of Technology, for example, but from representation from the most important ministries and agencies. So we've done it before. So we're having the whole government represented in a room. The next one, please. So we start with the context of the National Development Plan. And under each one of these 6 dimensions, we have sub-dimensions. For example, under leadership, there is vision with 4 statements, policy with 4 statements, data with 3 statements, and so on. The next one, please. So for vision, if we look at statement number 4, the statement is, our ministries and authorities have an official who is formally assigned the role of Chief Information Officer. Now, in the European context, most civil servants may agree with this statement. So they will mostly they will say 5. We strongly agree. But in developing countries, it's surprising how there are diverging visions on that, diverging perceptions of that, particularly in countries where there is still an outdated mentality that information is power, where institutions do not want to share their information. So it entices an interesting dialogue between ministries and agencies in terms of the definition of the role of the Chief Information Officer. And please don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing all countries. There are developing countries who have extremely well-developed networks of CIOs, and it does work well. They have CIOs for specific ministries, and then they have a central national CIO who coordinates everybody. And then we proceed with other dimensions like policy. In our ministries and authorities, we are capable of establishing an environment enabling innovation and modernization. And of course, where different perceptions clash, that becomes a policy entry point. That becomes an entry point for further development and further work with those institutions. This is what I mean by working in a structured way. The next one, please. And so on and so forth. Here we have statements about strategy. I will go quickly over these for the benefit of time. The next one, please. We have statements on governance. The next one, please. I'm not going to elaborate now on these statements or discuss them, but each one of them entices a very important discussion between institutions, as if we had the whole government in a room discussing these aspects. The next one, please. Legal, technology, and of course, last but not least, if we could have the next one, please. Professional and workforce development. The next one, please. So in following up the digital assessment, we have a 5-day training, including innovation labs, systems thinking, public value framework, with the definition of an action plan and a roadmap. The next one, please. The next one. And of course, this is also translated into a discussion on the 5 dimensions of effective public service, including responsiveness, quality, affordability, access, and people orientation, including a discussion on KPIs about each one of these dimensions within the context of a national development plan and what can be achieved digitally. Discussions, again, between ministries and agencies. The next one, please. Now, very briefly, I will share with you some snapshots from the UN government survey, which will connect to the previous elements of the toolkit. If we could have the next one, please. As you know, we issue the survey every 2 years, and the survey has 3 main parameters. One is an online service index. The online service index is defined by UN DESA by having an objective questionnaire with about 140 indicators, which are extracted from the official websites of all 193 member states. There is also a second element, so the online service index, which is a questionnaire which we send to member states. The second pillar, so to speak, is the telecommunication infrastructure index. We use 4 indicators from the International Telecommunication Union, ITU, which is a UN agency. One of those indicators, for example, is number of mobile subscriptions per 100 inhabitants. We used to have number of fixed telephone lines per 100 inhabitants. But as governments and countries don't use fixed telephones anymore, people don't have fixed telephones anymore, we dropped that indicator. Now we have 4. And the third pillar is the Human Capital Index, which is basically about education. We use 4 indicators, and these indicators are usually sent from governments to the UNESCO because of international statistical agreements. And we use the information that governments themselves send to UNESCO. So these form what we call an e-government development index, which becomes a relative snapshot. Is relative, and it's a ranking, but the most important aspect of the ranking, in our view, is the learning that it provides between countries. The next one, please. Europe is by far the most homogeneous and the most developed region, as Adriana mentioned, in the context of regional commissions of the UN. 126 UN member states have high and very high EGDI levels, e-government development index levels. 57 countries have very high EGDI compared to 40 countries in 2018. Overall, globally, countries are indeed using more digital government. Of course, there are many types of digital gaps. The survey also elaborates on that. And only 8 countries now have low EGDI compared to 16 countries 2 years ago in 2018. We're also happy to say, the next slide, please. We are happy to say that the United Nations University is also one of our partners. They help us with the development of a local local e-government development index. In 2018, there were 40 cities, 44 cities, if I'm not mistaken, and now there were in 2020 100 cities which were evaluated also at the local level. We are now providing a more granular analysis by subdividing each one of the 4 categories, low, middle, high, and very high, into 4 quartiles. The next one, please. So the top leading countries, among the 14 leading countries, 8 of them are in Europe. That's where the best regional experiences are coming from. Denmark is leading the global EGDI, the ranking. Republic of Korea is leading the online service provision. And Estonia has had the most significant ascent since 2018. The next one, please. So if those 14 highly performing countries have 5 features in common, the survey outlines, first of all, the consistency and progress in strategic digital policy areas, and in the consistent implementation of digital public services. Now, what's more important here is not the services themselves, is not the front office, but the arrangements in the back office. That's the main challenge in developing countries. As it was said here before, is not the technology, is having institutions to dialogue with each other, is having semantic interoperability, as having cooperation and a harmonious architecture to provide the services. Number 2, these countries have a one-stop shop approach, including citizen-centric portals. Number 3, they're digital by design. They have digital ID, digital identification, as if it was a bank account for the citizen. Integrated public service delivery, procurement processes, and contracting arrangements. There is an agency, department, or ministry in charge of a long-term digital agenda, led by a CIO and aligned with national development strategies. Number 4, there is a comprehensive legal and regulatory framework. The harmonization of access to information, security of information, and privacy of information is crucial. And in many developing countries, the legal framework for access to information or security of information or privacy of information, access, security, and privacy, is still contradictory. The legislation itself is not harmonious. So that makes a big difference in a country. And last but not least, there is a national strategy for new technologies, including artificial intelligence, 5G, blockchains, etc. The next one, please. So in Europe, we see that Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Sweden, UK, Netherlands, Iceland, and Norway are the top leaders in the region. 7 countries moved from high to the very high EGDI group. The lowest variance in EGDI scores among countries, meaning it's the most homogeneous region, and 10 countries in Europe with comparatively lower EGDI. The next one, please. About COVID-19, even though the reaction, the policies about COVID-19 were not considered as part of the ranking, the survey did have a special concern in analyzing and presenting some preliminary conclusions. So it was very clear that from March 2020, as the year progresses, the countries progressed from a low level of what would be compared to a low level of EGDI, initially just providing basic information, general health precautions, And then later, as the crisis intensified, member states began extending their reach, started using social media channels, and then later on, they demonstrated a high performance in terms of responding to the pandemic by having on time portals following the number of cases, following how policies were reacting to that. So now we follow the news and we know what's happening exactly in each country, because the digital response, in a way, followed the emergency and the priority represented by the pandemic. The next one, please. Towards a conclusion, there were short-term, medium-term, and longer-term reactions. Well, initially a reaction at the short term, and then countries recovered and showed resolved. The bullets show each policy, kinds of policies that were implemented. I'm not going to elaborate, but just to say that from a reaction to a recovery, and then to a reinvention of government based on digital possibilities, because of course of the priority represented by COVID-19. The next one, please. So for the sake of conclusion, just a few bullets to acknowledge there was a global increase of digital government, EGDI, across all regions, including Africa, an increased global use of digital government as a means for public service delivery. All surveys, they reflect reality. They do not change reality. So sometimes people complain that the survey is not fair. A survey is not supposed to be fair. We cannot correct. We can correct afterwards by improving policies, particularly in developing countries, and learning from other countries who manage to have good results and good performance. In that case, Europe is the best example we know in terms of global regions. Digital transformation requires capabilities, institutional dialogue. Capabilities means not only individual skills, but also organizational capabilities. Institutional dialogue, a common vision towards change, and specific enablers, such as organizational assets like management, governance networks, and collaboration, which is precisely why we are here today. And I'd like to thank you again for the opportunity. And that concludes my presentation. Back to you. Thank you very much, Ludovic. And thank you again for the Interoperability Academy. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jonas, for this very interesting and inspiring presentation. Thanks a lot also, Adriana. It was really a pleasure for us to also have this explanation from you from a UN perspective. And I don't know if we have any participant who would like to raise questions specifically to Adriana or Jonas. If so, of course, do not hesitate. You can just unmute or use the chat. Okay, so it seems that it was
if I may
very clear, Jonas, but please, George, go ahead.
I think there are a lot of opportunity for collaboration. I think what you presented is also something we are considering, and as you say, I mean, I think what we will do on the IF will be quite useful for the, I mean, to achieve your goals, because it's also, I mean, we explain also some issues and some possibilities, solutions that you can use to ensure this to solve these organizational aspects and legal aspects. So we're really looking forward to collaborate with you. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, George. I see that also on the chat, we have Mark Christopher Schmidt, who is asking where to find the parameters. I assume it's the different parameters of the survey, but Mark Christopher, if you want to unmute, please do not hesitate to do so.
I think many thanks for the presentation. It was very inspiring. As always, when you mentioned some parameters that you are using, where could we find the list? I think they will be publicly available somewhere. Maybe you even had a link to it, but I didn't see it directly.
Yeah, the parameters are clearly shown in the UN e-government survey. I'm sorry, I should have included the web link to the UN e-government survey, but even if you Google UN e-government survey 2020, you will easily find it. And there are 4 indicators for, as I said, telecommunications, 4 indicators for education, human capital, and the indicators of the online presence are also seen in the survey. And more than that, the indicators that we use to rank the countries are also in an annex of the survey. So very transparently, governments can see which indicators were used in the ranking. Sometimes developing countries complain, for example, that their e-government survey evaluation is showing data that is not current, but that's because for example, the Ministry of Education of that country did not send the most current data to UNESCO. So, but we explain there the specific data that was used, and the entire process is very, very transparent. If there is one thing that is important, I mean, sometimes we can be imperfect. As human beings, we frequently are imperfect, but we cannot afford to be subjective. So there is indeed objectivity in the survey, and it's a big team of people, more than 100 researchers that reflect those indicators. And as I said earlier, the main purpose here is to promote a learning process, not competition. If there is any competition, we hope it's a healthy one, but it's to promote learning between countries, because indeed, countries are the ones leading the process. We are just reflecting the good practices from countries so that other countries can learn from that. Thank you.
Thank you. And also, Adriana shared the link to the report on this e-government survey from the UN on the chat, so do not hesitate to have a look at it.
Thank you, Adriana. Adriana is my supervisor, by the way. Thank you.
It's, as usual, teamwork, I guess. Okay, so this last presentation from the colleagues from the UN is now concluding this part about knowledge sharing. So I hope everyone is still enjoying all this information that are shared here. And probably now we can move to the last section before the Q&A, where I can give you some additional elements about one specific course. And just to summarize again quickly, what are the next step for 2021 onwards for the Interoperability Academy? So, of course, working to give birth to an Interoperability Academy, one of the first question that we had was on which topic to focus first, because it's, of course, it's a step-by-step approach with more and more courses that will be added all over the life of this academy. And what we decided to do, it was quite obvious to start with a first specific course on the EIF, so the European Interoperability Framework. And because this is really, let's say, the framework, the document that is giving guidance and providing support to the different member states in order to develop more interoperable digital public services, so the next generation of digital public services. And in that regard, we have, I see that in the list of participants, we have the course owner, because this course was developed by DG D2 of the European Commission, and we have Miguel Alvarez with us. So I don't know, Miguel, if you want to add a few words about this EIF course and how it was developed. Of course, you are more than welcome to do that.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Ludovic. Thank you to all the participants. For me, it's been a very interesting webinar. I have learned a lot. It's quite indeed very inspiring and enlightening to see how other or major organizations and countries are doing with digital skills, trying to indeed bring new resources to the public, to officials on digital skills. And indeed, as mentioned by Ludovic, we started, of course, it was obvious for us to start by developing a training course, online training course on the European Interoperability Framework. This is a joint effort of the Interoperability Academy and other areas in our unit, in Digit D2, the Interoperability unit. So I think this course is been a learning path for all of us, indeed, showing the way to upcoming courses. So my experience with this course was to make the EIF, that sometimes is regarded as very theoretical and abstract, something that visually we could convey simply concepts and to the students, to reach out to a broad audience, practitioners, students, officials, policymakers, with a plain language and with concrete and very practical examples on how interoperability is needed and how the EIF can support any major project on IT, on digital government, on digital transformation, bringing the interoperability angle. So the course has been developed, is very nice, very visual, with a lot of animation. There is a quiz after each chapter to check if the students are learning the main concepts. And the course, in a way, was tested with a group of students. If I'm not mistaken, Ludovic, it was May this year, around May, June.
Yep,
July.
George, yeah, you can also add later on if you want something to say something, George. And we got quite a good feedback, and thanks to this feedback, we are now revamping the course, and we also identify, let's say, a more forward-looking approach with new features to be added to the learning course that will be implemented, if I'm not mistaken, George, next year. So let's say it's a very good practice to have, I wouldn't say a mock-up, but a very mature version, and then you get a group of users, you can test it, you can improve it, and also you can get ideas to create, let's say, a continuous improvement process, so that the course will evolve according to the needs of the different stakeholders, let's say, students, policymakers, officials, the ecosystem around this academy. So thank you very much. Thank you very much to all. This is what basically I wanted to convey here, Ludovic.
Thank you, Miguel, for this explanation. And this is true that it was the first one. So, of course, you have now a lot of lessons learned and even ways to even make the next courses easier to produce. Huh? But it's important what you mentioned, of course, to involve end user in the testing of the course prior releasing it to the whole audience is definitely a good practice that I assume also other initiatives are taking. Okay, and so now since we talk, of course, the idea is not to go really in all the nitty-gritty details of this EIF course. However, we have a short 3 minutes video that just summarizes what this course is about, and I would propose to share it with you right now. We'll just take a couple of seconds to have it on the screen. The Black Friday doesn't help in this case, but definitely we will see it in a very few seconds.
Exchange data between their ICT systems. This also entails ensuring that the precise format and the meaning of exchange data and information is preserved and understood throughout exchanges between parties. By now, we all benefit greatly from certain implementations of interoperability. Taking an example from our everyday life, we are now used to paying online for bills or shopping, which happens thanks to interoperability between the online shop services and your bank services, as their IT systems can exchange data about your bank account. Now, as the public sector services are increasingly being digitized, it becomes essential to make these new systems interoperable, not just at a subnational and national level, but to make them interoperable at European level, leading specifically to the digital single market, where citizens and businesses can operate, relocate, and work in any European country, and more generally to a more efficient Europe, able to manage the new challenges at the European scale. This is also important in the context of the upcoming Single Digital Gateway. By the end of 2020, citizens and companies moving across EU borders will easily be able to find out what rules and assistance services apply in their new residency. By the end of 2023 at the latest, they will be able to perform a number of procedures in all EU member states without any physical paperwork, like registering a car or claiming pension benefits. In order to avoid digital fragmentation of services and the so-called silo approach, which entails the reluctance to share information within different divisions in the same public administrations, in an effort to reduce costs, ensure efficiency and facilitate the life of citizens and businesses, these efforts to digitize the public sector should be coordinated at European level. And this is the mission of the European Interoperability Framework, to connect public administrations, business and citizens in shaping the digital policies and their implementation at member state level. To follow common standards, EIF needs to be understood and used by policymakers, clerks, professionals and academics. To work together to contribute to public sector efforts to design European public services which are, for instance, digital, cross-border and open by default, cross-border and cross-sectoral interoperability of European public services, national interoperability framework, NIFs, or national strategies promoting interoperability, domain interoperability frameworks that implement EIF in their domain-specific area. In this short online course, you will have the opportunity to better understand the three main components of the EIF: principles, layers, conceptual model. We'll have a look at monitoring mechanism put in place to measure how each country is complying with the EIF recommendations. And finally, we will have a closer look at EIF implementation tools to support member states.
Perfect. I think we can go back to the main presentation. So this, of course, as you can see, it was really just a quick teaser, let's say, about what the overview course contains. And basically, of course, you will receive this the presentation of today, and including the link to the full course if you are interested to go more into the detail of it. Now moving on before the Q&A to the achievement and future plans. So just a short recap, we already mentioned some of these points at the beginning of the presentation, but just to give you an idea, we started in August, so in summer 2019, basically. And of course, yeah, here it was really the beginning of the project. So the idea was there, but we needed to put all the concrete elements together to make it happen. So the first phase, let's say, in the first months was really to aim to really pave the way for the Interoperability Academy, so to better understand our target audience, to better understand the needs of future students, and also to establish, as I mentioned already, first collaborations again. So in order not to restart everything from scratch, but to benefit from other initiative experience. November, December 2020, so exactly now where we are basically. So we are now finalizing 3 courses, EIF being one of these 3 courses. And basically also finalizing the study that we are currently performing together with the University of Leuven, with KUL, about skills and competency framework. So this is the one that was shortly introduced by Cesar earlier on in this webinar, and we are now finalizing it for the end of this year. So of course, this study will also be made publicly available by beginning of next year. 2021 onwards, so this is more about our plans for the future. And again, these plans are really based on idea and proposal discussion with the European Commission, but also with other initiatives. And this is really key. So IOP Academy curriculum. So now we will be in a position to define a full curriculum. So to understand exactly which topic to be addressed, and this will be based already on preliminary work that we have been doing on establishing, for example, the learning path that we were discussing earlier. So of course, in 2021, the idea is definitely not to stop only with these 3 courses. It will be to add incrementally more courses. To have also, you can expect within the Interoperability Academy to have a full calendar of events. So could then there be live courses, lecture series, seasonal schools. End of 2019, we had a first winter school organized together with the University of Leuven. And the plan, the format still needs to be defined, but the plan is really to reproduce this kind of winter or summer school. So you will find all this information directly within the Interoperability Academy and also in the Join Up collection that we mentioned before. So greater community as usual, and this webinar is again, it's a really good way to achieve that, but we are still of course interested to have more and more experts participating to discussion, sharing knowledge with us, and making our community bigger and bigger. Promotion on JoinUp, so this is already mentioned, but yeah, definitely if you register to the collection, you will be kept up to date about anything happening around digital skills. So how can we work together? I believe here it's more a summary of concepts that were already mentioned, but in order to really bridge the digital skills gap, in order to develop the skills that are really needed to achieve cross-border and cross-sector public services that are fully interoperable, so we can definitely do not hesitate to come back to us in order to co-create learning content, in order to co-host events. So you see, we were talking about live courses, we were talking about seasonal school. So of course, all ideas are welcome and will definitely be discussed and analyzed. Sharing knowledge. Knowledge is key. So of course, do not hesitate. Again, I think we will have definitely other similar webinars as this one in the coming years. So you are more than welcome to contribute to them. So do not hesitate to get in touch also for that. And definitely, as I mentioned at the beginning, within an Interoperability Academy, the courses will be made in an interoperable way, meaning that you can definitely also reuse them and integrate them into your own website and e-learning platform. So this basically concludes the presentation part for this webinar. And now basically we propose to move to a short question and answer session. I think we are perfectly in line with the timing, so it's good. We have still 20 minutes for this Q&A session. So I really propose that should you have any question raised on the chat, to go through them first. And of course, after that, we will also have some questions from you where we will use Slido. So I don't know if there were already questions on the chat that were not answered so far. I think we have, there was one that I've seen that was concerning the presentation of Adriana. And the question is from Pantelis Nikolaidis, asking whether there are any implementation for local administration using UN tools that you mentioned in your presentation, Adriana. Do you want to take this one?
Yes, yes, I mentioned that in the chat box that we have also developed a training toolkit on national to local governance, which will also have some components on smart cities. So that will be available in 2021, and we will be glad to share, you know, once it's available, of course.
Really good. Thank you, Adriana. Anything else you wanted to add?
I actually, if I may, I'm not. I also have a question. May I ask a question to you, Ludovic?
Please go ahead.
Of course, of course.
So I really like the framework that you presented at the beginning, where, and if it's okay, I will also like to use it as we are talking about reusing content and ideas. And if anything, you know, that you have seen from our side, please also feel free to reuse it, because I think this knowledge sharing is really what counts. And but I had a comment, and maybe it's a question. So in the framework that you showed, you had, I believe it's about, you know, how to change the way that public servants operate. So you had on the left side attitudes, on the right side values, and then on the bottom knowledge, and then you had skills, right? I don't know if you have that slide maybe to show again.
We can probably go back to the slide that was presented by Cesar. Yes.
Sorry, Cesar. Yes. So that, I think that's really a very, you know, interesting way to present in a snapshot information. I have two maybe questions or comments. Number one is that, and I think this is also in your presentation. So you start, well, in the video, you start from principles, and it's a different type of presentation, but principles, layers, conceptual model, etc. But here, what I wanted to maybe suggest is that the principles and values might be first, and then these influence not only the attitudes, but also the beliefs. And so that would also be your mindset. And then, of course, you have the knowledge and the skills. But I think one item that could also be added, and I would be really interesting because we could see how to implement this framework also in our toolkits, is behaviors. You see, because we've been working with other experts from around the world, including OECD, the World Economic Forum, MIT, and others, about changing mindsets, and also with behavioral scientists. So why we are interested in changing mindsets and in this type of field is because oftentimes we impart, just not we, but you know, those who are in charge of training, what happens, and this is what we have heard from public officials in developing countries, where they said, yes, you know, we go to these training courses, we learn new concepts, we have new skills, but behaviors don't change. So how do you ensure that this type of capacity development or training courses, and especially the principles and the values, are internalized by public servants to have a lasting change and impact? So what we've been looking at, the concept of changing mindsets, where you can either try to raise awareness about existing beliefs and attitudes among public servants, or you can change or try to change the environment, so the choice architecture, as the behavioral scientists say, around behaviors by, introducing nudges. So what I'm trying to say is I think the framework is great, but I would just turn the principles and values as the number one, and then I would add beliefs and attitudes, knowledge, skills. And then what type of behaviors do you want to see? What type of new behaviors do you want to see as a result? And again, I don't have all the answers. This is something we are also struggling with, but we think that adding behaviors is very important. Thank you, Ludovic.
Thanks a lot, Adriana. Definitely, I believe that even if we extrapolate on this, digital mindset should probably even be a prerequisite to digital skills as such. So this is a really valuable comment, and what we can do definitely, and this is also for the other participant, but we can share also the current state of our study with you and see to what extent we can, in case, complement on this aspect. Definitely. Georges, do you want to add anything as an answer to Adriana?
No, I mean, that's definitely, I mean, I would encourage as well, because as it was said by Cesar, it's a first attempt based on mostly on literature and on what we are doing. So, I mean, if you're interested, because we are also, like it was presented by, I think it was by Poland, I think, I mean, we want to have review. I mean, what we're doing, we want to have people review. So, I mean, you're welcome. We can share with you if you agree, and we get your comments and to take them into account. So, I mean, this is of course for sure. And as it was said, it's a first shot, and we will have different iteration and do this. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Georges. Definitely, we will follow up on this. Adriana.
Sorry, Ludo, for jumping in.
Yep.
Just a comment on this one, and also to fulfill, I want to say to Adriana, because, okay, sorry, I have my other phone, is that this framework, we put feedback from other frameworks as well, and also for digital skill, for instance, for ESCO, and also we took also into consideration international ones. And we also try to put in place not only the ones that are for competencies, but also social skills. But also this is work in progress. And our final goal on this is to make publicly available for all. So we will make this publicly available and share this report. But of course, this is on early stage, but we collaborate with different frameworks already. For instance, one of them is ESCO. Another thing that I want to also share as well is that I see also on the chat from Mark Bergman's, for instance, PM Square has also, and talking about mindset. So we also include other stuff as well, and also the courses that you see the links between the courses and the actual categories of the framework. So we want to say not like a theoretical framework, but also practical, where this category link with an actual course. Sorry for intervening, but yeah, I just wanted to add this one, I think. Yes.
I don't know if I can add something,
yes,
just
sure.
very briefly. Adriana, thank you very much for your comment. It's very interesting. We have been in contact also with other people from the OECD through another project, and it's very interesting talking about this digital mindset. So in that sense, it's something that we believe it's a very important element to take into consideration. Of course, at this point, how it was said, the research in the beginning, it was considering all these elements that you saw in the early framework, but it seems that it's taking more and more a relevant place, this idea of digital mindset. And at the same time, I would like to highlight all the important efforts through the Interoperability Academy that the European Commission and TASIS, they are doing together, because this also is helping to reshape somehow the context where we are discussing all these interoperability issues.
Thank you, Cesar. And it's true that, of course, if we look back 10 years ago, for example, about project management methodology, mindset was definitely not in the radar, I would say. And now it's becoming more and more. So, of course, there is a definitely further investigation needed. I believe that Mark Bermans, who made this comment about PM Square, wanted also to shortly intervene. So Mark, if you want, the floor is yours.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. My name is Mark Berkmans. I'm working at Digit, and since a couple of months, I'm the PM Square ambassador. So a bit representative of Digit regarding the project management methodology that is used in the European Commission. And I must say, I'm quite happy that after several good meetings we had with the ISA² team, that indeed, and specifically with George, that we are now, putting a lot of things for the next quarter, Q1 and Q2, in the Interoperability Academy. We will indeed put several e-learnings in there. And I would indeed appreciate that if there are people from member states that we can, before just putting them there, that we can indeed have sort of workshops or even maybe discussions content-wise, like so that we just don't put what we think as European Commission is interesting, but that we also upfront could get the feedback. And to come back on Adriana and Victoria, in our methodology, it's not just about a training to become a good project manager, it's also about the mindset and the good attitudes that you need to have towards your team, your other stakeholders. We also put a lot of emphasis on that. Thank you.
Great, Mark. Definitely, we will be in close collaboration in order to have also some user testing, let's say, before having the course publicly available. Thanks
Looking forward to that.
Great. We had also Pantelis who wanted to make a comment or ask a question. So Pantelis,
Okay.
if you want.
Thank you very much, Ludovic. Today, Join Up Digest informed us for a training developed by the Swedish Association of Municipalities based on AI for leaders in the public sector. A similar to us initiative, another option offered by IOP Academies is to localize seminars and to provide them in the regional public workforce. Finally, as Mr. Alberti mentioned, there is enough tools, we can use it. So I was thinking to propose the idea to start clustering similar initiatives, for example, the Swedish ones, so that we can be acted as a learning machine for specific thematic areas. A role, of course, that already has the IOP Academy, and I believe that could help us for this. So we are open for such collaboration, and please contact us if we can find the common practices and to exchanges our views. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the offering, Pantelis. I believe that, our Interoperability Academy is now really at a mature stage where we can really go into the detail and exploring these synergies. So we will, of course, definitely do that. Okay, so looking at the clock, I see that we have 15 minutes more. So what I propose is really to move now to Slido, because we also prepare a couple of questions where we are, as the Interoperability Academy team, really interested to get your view, answers, and opinion. So we propose you to join Slido, so you can go on the website, and or with your mobile phone, of course, you can use the QR code. Okay, yeah, and basically you have the code in order to be directly on the question related to this webinar. So yeah, hashtag Z830. Hashtag Z830 is the code that you can use. And I believe that most of you already use this interactive tool that is Slido, and you will see live, let's say, the different answers that are provided by all of you. So let's just still a few more seconds for all of you to connect. So go on slido.com and entering the code that you can see on the left side of the slide now. So for the moment, I see that we have only 5 participants. So I'm sure that, yeah, we are still missing quite a lot because, yeah, let's wait still for a few more seconds. probably we can just display again quickly the QR code in case people would like to access it via their mobile phone. Katarina?
But you can already see the hashtag on the screen you're sharing.
Yeah, I was really talking about the QR code to access to Slido in order to enter the code. Yeah, but you can now also you can also see it on the chat. But I see that we are still 60 participants here in this webinar, so I was surprised to see only 5 connected to Slido. So yeah, now you have really all the elements in the chat, so probably we can go back to the other screen. Okay, can we display the Slido? I don't know if I'm the only one, but I do not see the answer from Slido at the moment. So, Katarina, Konstantina, if you can make the Slido appear, that would be perfect to close this webinar. Excellent. And now we have already some more people connected. So can we go back to the first question? It's almost there. Okay, so yeah, there was a first test. The question was quite rather simple, but it was: is interoperability important for your organization initiative? And we see here that we have 95% of respondents that consider interoperability as important for their organization initiative. But I'm honestly even more interested in this case to understand in the respondent who said no to this question. So is there anyone within this 5%, which should be probably 1% if I'm doing the good calculation, but would this person be okay to share why interoperability is not important in the framework of his or her organization? I don't know if this person would like to explain his or her answer. Okay, it seems not. So probably we can then move to the next question, and I'm sure that yeah. So I see an answer on the chat basically. So UD saying, in my organization, interoperability is important, but currently not much is being done about that. So this is clear. I believe that the importance of interoperability is recognized here, but not enough action taken so far. That's what I understand. So we really hope also that the Academy, the Interoperability Academy, can help to get the right skills, probably also the right mindset in order to have some concrete results. Okay, so moving on to this second question, it was: which of the below profile do you typically find in your organization or initiative? So you had the choice between project manager, CIO, Chief Information Officer, software developer, public administration manager, and system architect. So here I believe that most of you already answered to this question, and we see that there is quite a variety of profile, and this is really I believe in nowadays in our public administration, there is definitely a mix of either project managers, CIO, developers, public administration managers, system architects. So this is quite interesting also because it means that then everyone, all the roles that are mentioned here should definitely have access to dedicated content within the Interoperability Academy. So I believe that we are done with this answer. I don't see the charts. The charts are still moving a bit. Okay, so we can, of course, if anyone would like to comment about these results or even give explanation about his or her answer, you are definitely welcome to unmute. Huh? Okay, I guess we can move then to the third question. Okay, and this question basically, as you can see, was what type of skills does your organization or initiative address? So the main focus, let's say, of your organization initiative in terms of skills. So advanced digital skills, which is definitely the focus of the Interoperability Academy. So we see that it appears on the top and with 65%. Interoperability is also really close with 61%. Basic digital skills, so here I assume, but of course do not hesitate again to complement that we talk also about how to use Excel functionalities, for example, this kind of aspects, and other for 13%. So we see that I think it's quite good and shows still the relevance of the work that is currently achieved on the Interoperability Academy. We see that interoperability and advanced digital skills is still moving, but are still high on the list. I don't know if there is anyone who selected other that would like to give specific example of other type of skills that are addressed. So either via the chat or again by unmuting the microphone. Please really do not hesitate to do so. It can only be interesting for everyone. And it's true also an interesting comment on the chat. We have Tobias mentioning would be interesting to hear how everyone defines digital skills. This is a really good point. I don't know, Tobias, if you want to share with us your own vision, your own definition.
Well, given insight, I can't share the final definition as we have none yet. as you may think, to be honest. Yeah. No, we have currently a project going on with the major meter studies in case to find out which components belong to digital skills. And so far, we have 52 skills in 9 categories defined. So that's quite a lot already. And we are not yet done. So, and this is not only, this is not obviously not only new stuff, but stuff which is in place already now. I don't know, for example, creating digital content using presentation tools, for example, which is a common skill already now, but still needs to be addressed when talking about digital skills in the future. Because this may change as well a bit, because you need to, I don't know, for example, you need to take care of of different options of accessing your digital content for I don't know, for example, for people who can't see, for people who can't hear properly or whatsoever. So you need to somehow create your digital content in a different way in the future, probably. So yeah, the whole definition of what does digital skill mean for your organization or for specific roles is one of the key topics in my eyes, at least.
Okay, so thanks a lot, Tobias. Really comprehensive answer. Do we have anyone who would like to mention example of other types of skills?
I mentioned other skills because we also train on management skills and interpersonal skills, communication skills.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, this is even back to the discussion we had on the mindset and how to build a digital mindset. Yeah, those are also really important, definitely. Thank you.
Tobias, once again, probably one extra add. I mean, just looking at that webinar that you've organized here and held here, this is full on digital skills. And let's face it, not everyone would be capable of organizing this at the moment. So how to set up that kind of webinar, how to structure it, how to do time management, how to set up the poll whatsoever. So basically how to do the moderation of different speakers during a webinar, I don't know, you name it. All of this is obviously digital skills at the moment, and it's not 100% the same to do this in physical presence as a training or as a course or whatsoever. So it's a different kind of skills that you need to organize all this and structure it and do it in a proper way.
Yeah, definitely. Cannot agree more with that. It's not the same organizing a face-to-face workshop than a webinar, for example, or other type of events. Definitely. Yeah. Thank you for all this comment. I propose that we are now reaching almost the end of this webinar, so we can quickly check the next one was which of the below topic are more important for your organization initiative. So here it was to have a kind of ranking between organizational interoperability, technical interoperability, legal or semantic interoperability. And for those of you who can we go back? Yes, thank you. For those of you, who already read the EIF, you see that here you have the different layers, and it's quite interesting to even see from your answer that technical interoperability as such is not on the top of the list, and that we see here, for example, even more votes for the organizational aspect. So very interesting. We can move to the next one. And thinking of what you have heard during today's webinar, how the activities of our Interoperability Academy complement the work that your organization or that you are personally doing. So this is here again a kind of call for synergies, I would say. But so the first one, so offer of e-training may be increased. Definitely, that's really when we presented the next step, something that we highlighted, that we want to increase the number of training. And of course, here collaboration is key in order to make it as fast as possible. Yes, we should be happy to take part in this initiative. We will be happy to take part in this initiative. So again, here, synergies, proposal, different perspective on similar topics, highly complementary work. This is also really a valid comment that you can definitely approach, especially in terms of education, the same topic, but with totally different views, let's say. And so that's also interesting, and that's where there can be definitely some complementarity. I see high level. So this, I don't know exactly what was meant here, but also what we mentioned, that there will be SCORM packages available, and that it seems that someone or one initiative is already interested by publishing IOP courses in their own system. So of course, do not hesitate again to get in touch with us. And we can definitely provide you with all the information that are by default public. Of course, all of these that we are discussing now, I need to speed up a bit because we are now reaching the end. But you will, of course, all participants will receive all these different elements. Okay, next. So synergies to explore. So here we see that the co-creation of courses seems to be on the top of the list. Followed by the testing of new courses. So we had this discussion about PM², but this is really valid for all. Co-hosting of events and training. So here I have seen also on the chat one question about events and especially about seasonal school. And the question was to know whether the topic of the next seasonal school is already defined or if there is probably room for contribution. And here the answer is rather simple. The topic of the next seasonal school, as well as the date and location, is still currently being investigated. So meaning there is definitely room for contribution. So if you have any idea, I think the question was from Katrina from Poland. If you would like to contribute or even propose your idea, it is again more than welcome, and we can further discuss about it. Translation of courses, of course, this is also something that may be interesting, because by default, all the courses that we will have on the Interoperability Academy would be in English, but sometime, especially going at regional, local level, it could make clearly sense to have also the courses in some different languages. Okay, next.
This is all. We will now switch to the presentation.
Yep, and there is, not much to be presented. We spend these last 3 hours with you. We really hope that that you enjoy this webinar. I will give the floor to Georges and Victoria to conclude it. But of course, be part of these initiatives. Do not hesitate to contact us. And on behalf of the Interoperability Academy, I really would like to thank all of you for attending, but also all the presenters that gave us really good insights. And also, of course, Natalia Aristimuno, who started this webinar. So hope you enjoy it and see you next time. Georges, the floor is yours.
So thank you very much for attending, for being patient. We didn't lose so many people, so I'm still happy to see 46 people. So it means that we did something interesting. I mean, do not hesitate. I know that you may still have questions, so do not hesitate to ask. I think it was very interactive, and of course there will be the slides will be shared. We will also find a way to share the recording, and we will write a report as well with a summary where you will have the questions as well that were asked. And your feedback is welcome. We will, I mean, what I've seen here was very encouraging, that we will have a lot of collaboration possibilities. As you said, we are open for any collaboration for a seasonal schools, but as well, or I would say lecture series, because we intend to have series on a theme. So we might also publish calls for collaboration on a certain topic, and you are welcome to contribute and share any idea, because this is something we don't do for the European Commission, because this is we have our own learning system inside, and we are our own internal things. But here it's for the public sector, so we need, of course, your feedback is very important. So what I see is very encouraging, and I encourage you to join JoinUp, to publish on JoinUp, because you can. It's open, so it's not. It's a collaborative platform, so you can publish what you are doing to share your experience. And as it was said, we will organize more of these seminars. And I will give last word to Victoria to close this meeting. Victoria, floor is yours.
Well, thank you, George. Thank you, Ludo, for your feedback, and that we are almost on time or in time. I don't know which is the right one. Thank you all for staying with us, although it's a bit late or too early for some, and also for your engagement and participation. Just 2 comments that yes, we will have hopefully a winter or a summer school. Topics will be working according to what will happen, when it will happen, of course. And also we will want synergy, so contact us directly, no problem, or others directly, because the point here is not like to just present what we are doing, but also not to repeating what others are doing and creating it again. Thank you so much. And thank you also all Trust team for helping us, and guys, of course, Square, that also, and Natalia that support us on this, and George, that is like always ready.
So bye everybody. You can put all your cameras if you want to greet, and you can stop sharing the screen maybe, so we see the videos. So bye everybody, and see you another time. We're looking forward to collaborating with you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
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 Bye. Thank you.